Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first lesson in the Su-25T Cadet series. About the videos I'm going to put up in the Cadet series for the Su-25T. Whenever the lessons are identical to the Su-25, I will not be making another video just explaining the very same thing. I will just be copying the video from the Su-25 over to the Su-25T playlist because it takes a lot of time to make these videos, and I can save 1.5–2 hours including rendering and uploading and so on, then I will do that. So whenever there is a difference between the Su-25 and the Su-25T, I will be making a separate video. Okay, this is the Su-25T cockpit tour. First of all, this cockpit is different in many ways from the Su-25. You can clearly see that the experience from the Su-25 has been transferred over to the 25T. The instruments are more condensed, but they are more in your field of view. You don't have to be looking much around to see the information you need, including the most, or one of the most different things, if you can say that. It is the HUD. It now has a standard, ordinary, classical HUD in front of you that shows you flight navigation and waypoint and weapons information and navigation. This is your HUD. The HUD shows the following: your airspeed in kilometers per hour up here to the right. Let's just zoom in. Up here where it says 80, 80 is the minimum airspeed it displays. It does not display 10, 20, 60, 70. It only starts displaying at 80. And remember, since this is a Russian aircraft, it is shown in kilometers per hour. This triangle here, when that triangle is to the left, it means you're decelerating, you're slowing down. If the triangle is in the middle, it shows that you have a steady speed, steady velocity. If it's, did I say to the right? I mean in the middle. When the triangle is in the middle. When the triangle is all the way to the right, it means that you are accelerating. And please note that if you are accelerating with 2 or 5 kilometers per hour, it may not show anything. So don't look at this and thinking that it is a authority on velocity change. It is not. Up here you have your bearing tape. It shows your bearing in degrees, rounded up to the nearest tenth. So 27 is 270, 270. And each vertical line without a number is half that. So 270, 275, 28, and so on. Please note that 360 and 000, they cannot be present at the same time. You do never ever use 000. You use 360. The reason for that is that straight north, due north, 360 and 000 are both showing the same direction. the reason that you don't use 0, 0, 0 is that during a radio talk, during standard radio quality, it can be a bit hard to hear 0, 0, 0. It is much easier to hear 3, 6, 0. That is much easier to hear, even in low quality radio reception. And the reason that you don't use both is that since both of them show the exact same way, if you have a compass where both of them are on that compass, there is technically 361 degrees around. Therefore, you remove the 0, 0, 0 and only use 3, 6, 0. Once again, this triangle shows exactly where you're pointing. So right now this would be pointing at 2, 6, let's say 8 or 9. Over here you have your altitude. It displays in two different ways. When there is a R here, it says the radio altitude, and therefore this altitude is AGL, above ground level. When you're above, I believe it is it 1000? Probably 1500. When this R goes away, when it no longer shows, your altitude is in barometric. So it is very important to notice whether or not there is a R here. Over here you have your VVI, vertical velocity indicator. It shows how fast you're climbing in meters per second. This line here shows you degree of pitch. A solid line is positive pitch, you are climbing. A dotted line is negative pitch, means you are descending. This number here changes with the function you have chosen. But this right now shows your distance to your steer point in kilometers. So 0.4 kilometers is 400 meters. And it is not 400 exactly on the dot. It is within 100 meters or 50 meters. This here is a very simplistic way of showing your aircraft. It shows whether or not you are rolling or banking. This is 30 degrees, 60 degrees, and of course 90 degrees. Over here you have your weapons minimum, maximum and minimum ranges. It is only active, if you will, when any weapons are selected. Some of the instruments here are very similar or practically identical to the Su-25, but up here we have your angle of attack meter, and this time when your angle of attack reaches 20 degrees you'll hear a warning. You did not hear that warning in the Su-25. Now you do. Over here you have your G meters. In the bottom left you have your bomb release panel. This is the delay, and this is your station selector. Whether or not this delay now works fully, we have to wait and see. Over here you have your ACS panel, automatic control system, I believe. In the West it is called the autopilot. Your gear lever, configuration configuration indicator. Yes. Air brakes are the two vertical ones. The first row of light is your maneuver / combat flaps at the first stage, and the last or the bottom line of those are the landing flaps, full flaps, and 3 gear indicators. Whoops. Up here you have your speedometer, velocity indicator in kilometers per hour. Here you have your radio altimeter, and that of course shows your altitude above ground in meters. It is Russian, so it is in meters. Down here you have your barometric altitude indicator, and please note that now these two are switched around. In the Su-25, the barometric altitude indicator was above the radio altimeter. Perhaps it is because this is more important, and therefore it is more in your field of view. I don't know. Perhaps that would be a very good guess. And here you have your ADI, attitude director indicator, and as in the Su-25, it shows route information or indication, steer point indication, roll, bank, ILS indication, pitch indication also. Below here we have the HSI, horizontal situation indicator. It is almost identical to the Su-25, just this time you have the distance indicator directly built into the panel here, and also your desired heading, I believe it is, all right here in it. So and there is, instead of the needles, we have a different way of showing, but more on that when we get to the lessons for that. And good. Here we have the analog VVI, vertical velocity indicator, or VSI, vertical speed indicator. If this line is above, it means you're climbing. If it is below, you're descending. Also, it shows how fast you're descending or climbing in meters per second. As you can see here, M/CEK. It is a Cyrillic SCRSs. Here you have the tachometer. It does not show the revolutions per minute. It shows the maximum, or the percentage of maximum power output of your engines in percentage. Here you have engine indicator with temperatures. Over here you have your fuel indicator, and the Su-25T has even more fuels. And don't forget that in no way, any shape or form, does it show how many liters you have left. It shows how many kilograms of left. And here Cyrillic S, Cyrillic U, MMA, summa. It's a sum, a total. What is it called? A total amount of fuel. So, and one thing I forgot in the Su-25 is to explain why these lights are here. It is actually not that important as long as you can see the indicator bars. Down here you have your weapon station indicator. As in the Su-25, it shows the top line, the yellow line, lit up when you have something on that station, on that pylon. The bottom line will show green dots for the weapon station you have selected. Over here you have indicators for whether or not it is rocket, bombs, guided bombs, and the amount of cannon rounds. Here it shows a K for full. It will show 1/2 for half, and I believe it will show 1/4 for a quarter, and then that's zebra striped. like that for empty. Quick overview of my cat is Dobby. Quick look at the flight stick here. This button here, the top left, is for autopilot override. More than that in the autopilot lessons. Trim, return to level flight, emergency, panic button, call it what you want. Here is the target designator, and move this down, you go into the air to ground mode. Move it up, you go to the air to air. As you can see, Cyrillic B, that is a Western V Victor. So as far as I remember, air to air is Wustuk Wustuk, something like that. That means air to air. And here is a V and then a Cyrillic P, Wustuk, and then the Russian word for ground or whatever they call it. Over here you have the Su-15 radar warning receiver. We have covered that completely in the Su-25. That is one of the lessons that I will not be making a new one of, because it's much easier just to copy over from Su-25 since it is identical. Here we have the hydraulics. Make sure if you see your hydraulics drop after a battle damage, deploy your gear, and perhaps also deploying your flaps. Up here we have a standard flight clock. Down here we have the buttons for the navigation panels. But more than that when we get to the navigation panel. Oh, and one more thing. This screen. This screen and its sensors and its weapons is why the Su-25T is such a powerful and dangerous platform. This screen shows you information that makes you able to aim and use and operate the Vickers anti-tank guided missiles and the Cash 29T and other guided weapons. This screen can show just a black and white TV signal, and it can show infrared signal if you have the Mercury infrared pod on. The Su-25 does not have a built-in infrared or thermal sensor. It needs a pod for that. So I think that was it. Over to the left you have the flaps indicator here, and if I believe correctly, this is for the chaff and flares. So yes, that is it, and next video will be up when I have the time and when I want to make it. So, but thank you for watching.